Good evening. Good evening and welcome to the Nampa City Council meeting. It's great to see a full house here. Welcome to those that are also online. So we do have a tradition, hi Megan, and that is opening in prayer. And I so appreciate Megan Man Love with Trinity Lutheran Church coming forward. Megan, thank you for all you do. I appreciate it. And thank you for opening us in prayer.
It's a week of my prayers for Todd. I was asked to have a moment of silence for the MAF pilot in prison and, of course, the 4 University of Idaho students that were killed in Moscow. So let's take a few moments. Let us pray. Loving and forgiving God, we confess that we are held captive to sin. In spite of our best efforts, we have gone astray. We have not welcomed the stranger. We have not loved our neighbor. We have not been loving to one another. Restore us, O God. Wake us up and turn us from our sin. Renew us now as we go about the holy work of being community with and for one another. Creator of the stars of night, bless the long hours of this night with the warmth of your presence. Come to all who suffer in any way. Grant rest to the weary, freedom to those who are burdened, wisdom and patience for all making decisions, and bring hope to those who despair. Strengthen us for this moment. We pray with grateful hearts. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Megan, thank you so much. We appreciate you being here, and thank you for opening us. Let's start with roll call.
Rodriguez.
Here.
Brunner.
Here.
Gula.
Here.
Reynolds.
Here.
Everfield.
Here.
Bauer.
Here.
All present.
I am not aware of any proposed amendments to the agenda. Council, do you have any proposed amendments? Seeing none, I would stand for a motion to approve the consent agenda as published.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Brunner.
Yes.
Jingula.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Bauer.
Yes.
Everfield.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
The next item on the agenda is an opportunity for public forum, and this is for Nampa residents wishing to speak on an agenda or non-agenda item. And just a quick FYI, we are not taking any comments related to item 6.1 on the agenda, and that one does not have any comments available. So I believe we have.
Madam Mayor, we have Lance McGrath that would like to speak on a non-agenda item.
Mayor Kling, this is regarding the Nampa Public Library Foundation Board, which I'm a member of, and I asked Lance to come up and give us a talk about what the foundation has been doing over the last year, and it is amazing. It's amazing that 10 people on our board can do so much, and once you hear from Lance, holy moly, you're gonna just stand up and clap. So go ahead, sir.
Wow, and with that kind of introduction, how can I fail to disappoint? Well, good evening, Council, Mayor Kling. My name is Lance McGrath. I am the president and one of the founders of the Nampa Public Library Foundation. We are a registered nonprofit 501c3 with the state of Idaho, and we've been in existence since 2007. Our sole purpose for existence is to raise funds and support for the Nampa Public Library. And some of the I'm going to go back further than just the last year, Councilman Rodriguez. We helped raise funds for the new, now our existing public library. We have raised funds for the children's play area, for the Hispanic literature collection, and also for artwork in the building so that we can provide specific funding for needs that arise that may not be foreseen within the budgetary process. This last year, we have facilitated grants from the Idaho Humanities Commission for some historical pictures for the library that represent Nampa. We have facilitated an Amazon grant of $7,500, a STEAM grant. Nampa School District Early Learning, the 2C Kids Grant, we've been able to facilitate those funds of $71,000. So while we did not raise those funds directly, we are able to be custodians of those funds and then disperse those to the library as they are ready for them. We have low vision equipment that we have been able to provide through the McClatchy Company. University of Pittsburgh, we had an air quality monitoring grant that the library applied for, and we are facilitating that as well. And then the Women's Century Club, a large format laminator, and we've helped facilitate the funding for from ICCU for the summer reading program. Also, our current fundraising push right now is to finish off the bookmobile. The funding for that, we know that's been paid for with a large grant from the federal government. However, we have provided the opportunity for Nampa residents and local Idaho folks to participate in funding that bookmobile, really building it out, getting special collections equipment, things that come up that you don't realize you need in the moment that you're writing the grant. And we've already raised $13,000 for that over the last year and a half, and we're on the push for the last $12,000 this year to try and close out. And while we're waiting for the bookmobile to arrive, it's out there somewhere, supply chain issues. We're excited to have that this summer and get that going for the community.
Also, as you raised over $80,000. Isn't that
Yes,
something?
we raised a lot of money. So, thank you. We're glad to do that.
And everything goes right back to the library. The foundation doesn't even keep it.
Complete volunteer board. No, we're not paid in any way, shape, or form other than through goodwill and good feelings for helping the community.
So when I go to these meetings, Mayor and fellow council, all I do is smile because I'm so proud of these of the board because they just get out and do it, and that's the kind of dedication we need from our committees and commissions. And these folks are a prime example of great work with great people. Thank you.
It's wonderful. And Lance, you've served the community in a lot of other ways. Thank you for your service, and thank you so much for providing the update. This is pretty exciting. Thank you for the work that you do.
Thank you,
And the
Glenn.
entire team.
Thank you. Glad to do so. I'll let them know.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
So much. You too.
Thank you, Lance. He was my mentor when I started on planning and zoning. Right, Lance?
I tried.
Not successful.
Well, thank you. So at this time, we don't have anyone else signed up. Is there anyone that had intended to sign up that did not have the opportunity to do so? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to the next item. We do not have any proclamations or agency or commission reports, but we do have 3 staff communications. We'll start with Tom Points, our Senior Director of Public Works. Tom, thank you for coming forward. That will be followed by Adam Mancini, and then followed by Cliff Long, who will introduce Mike Pena.
Evening, Mayor Council. So I brought up Daniel. This is not in your staff report, but it's some important information about an intersection that we'd like to tell you about. So,
Mayor, Council, on Friday, we received notification from Knife River, who is our contractor on the Birch Franklin roundabout, that they were closing their asphalt plant due to the weather. So the delays that were caused by some utility relocations have prevented us being able to pave that intersection before spring. We are working with the contractor to get pricing to bring in some recycled asphalt for the winter with a fog seal to get it back open until such time as the asphalt plants open up again. Those costs we will push on to the utility company that caused the delay. And we will proceed with as we get more information. And depending on what that cost is, we may be back before you to discuss that. But wanted to give you that information, and if you have any other questions. The other roundabout at Kings Victory, they did the final paving on Saturday. So that one is completely paved. They're finishing up landscaping, striping, that type of stuff, and it will be open before Christmas.
Daniel, thank you. Really appreciate that. And I know our team has worked diligently to, with the utility that has caused the delay. It's been very unfortunate. And there is a consequence to that, right, which we're walking out right now. But thank you for providing that update. Council, do you have any questions for Daniel? Thank you, Daniel.
Okay, Mayor and Council, so we got a couple other things. I'm going to talk about the stop sign at Linden and Madison. So there's a lot of development happening in North Nampa, and things are changing rapidly. So we would like to put that intersection, which is currently a two stop sign intersection, to a 4 stop sign intersection. That'll help reduce some of the crashes we were seeing. We've had 3 in the past 2 years, which meets a warrant for stop sign intersections. So Crystal and Don will work on putting together some boards notifying public that a change in traffic's coming, and so that's something we'd like to do here immediately. Just wanted to let you know about that change. And then the next section about, snow, winter's here, and we've got Don Barr to come tell us about the snow and ice plan this year, and also name that snow plow. He's going to tell you about that. That was a very fun thing for us to do in Public Works, and the kids had an awesome time. He's got some pictures of some new names on some plows for you. So I'll turn it over to Don.
Good evening, Don. I have to start by saying, I'm so proud of you and your team and the great work you're doing.
Well, thank you, Mayor.
Great
and
job.
Council. As Tom said, we're here to talk for a few minutes about the snow and ice control plan that we've got in place. Winter's a little bit early this year. A little bit of the overview. Our plan, we'll be talking about that. We've got currently, the latest report is little over 944 lane miles in the city. So we've added, about 250, I think, in the last 15 years. So that tells you how we're growing. We started, I think we were just under 700 when I started here. We're up to 583 subdivisions now in the city that have been accepted, and it's the primary responsibility for all of us. And we have currently 12 different departments, divisions working as a team on our snow effort. For equipment, we have 6 full sanders with plows and combo and de-icer units, the dump trucks that you see. We have a 7th one that's on order, but like the bookmobile, we don't know where it's at or when it's going to get here. It's supposed to be here already. We have 1 new motor grader that's a couple years old. And we have 3 de-icing units, the big one that you see, and then 2 smaller ones. And we have a front end loader that's, I believe, 25 years old. The new one comes in at the end of this month. So we're excited for that. We have 2 backhoes, 2 550s with plows, and 1 450 with plow. Some of the materials that we use, we have salt that you see under the structure there. We have sand that we can use if we need to, and we have the brine in that brine tank that you see that we manufacture ourselves. And we're doing that at a cost of probably 10 cents a gallon. I know we've had this discussion before, but prior to that, we were buying it for a little over $1 a gallon. So quite a bit of savings on that. I'd like to talk about that brine a little bit. But for our plan, we have 5 different condition levels, and each trigger a further increased response as we get going. Our level of service is primarily, the focus is arterials, which if you have opportunity to talk to the public, that sometimes they don't understand that we have to get the main roads open, the hospitals, the schools, those type of things. And then our secondary streets within 48 hours, and residential, if the snow is still there, like it was 5 years ago, then we'll be there within hopefully 96 hours. We have citizens' concerns and needs block in here, which we improve a little bit every year. And so we have the website that's been there for a while, and that's updated frequently. We have our snow cam. Just replaced the clocks on it the other day because I think you have to do that every year or two. They wear out. We have our social media that Caitlin and Amy help us with. And our email, we got the snow@cityofnampa.us. Our snow phone line for our working hours and our off hours as well. This was a new slide for me, but that's a little bit small. But we got public partnership. This is kind of what, how our citizens can help and can help us and help themselves and help their neighbors. It's planning ahead, making sure you have what you need as far as having snow shovels and sand and de-icer, that type of stuff. I think also good tires are a must. Be a good neighbor, help each other when you can if you know your neighbors are out there struggling. Thinking 5 years ago, we had quite a few of the elderly that couldn't get out of their homes and didn't have family close by to help them, and so that was a big concern. Being safe when you can, park off the street. Don't park on the street where you might get hit by snow or be blocked in. Shovel your snow, but try to shovel it to the inside of your property lines so that it's not becoming an issue. If you put it in the street, we're gonna plow it right back up into your property line. That happens. And just be patient. We're a big city. I think we're more than 100,200, but we're a big city getting there. And it's helpful if you're able to do it physically to look online. We have on our locator that Craig Tarter put out, you can see where the storm catch basins are and the fire hydrants, and it's a good idea if you can do that to keep those clean. Some people don't understand that, and they pile it right all on the catch basin, but if they can keep it clean, that'd be helpful to them and us. So we started something different that Amy and I had talked about, I think 3 or 4 years ago. It's been a little while ago, and I don't remember where it came from, but October 24th through the 14th, Caitlin Volterbeck, I hope I said that right, Caitlin Scott, worked really hard. She deserves a lot of credit for this, but she worked with the school district and sent out surveys to all the schools, and the little guys got to pick names for our snow plows. We had a long list, and so we assigned K through 5, and since we have 6 trucks, each grade level got a truck. So yeah, it's good to work with them. They're excited. I think about it. I'm hearing stuff all over town when I stop places. So the 28th through the 2nd, we added the names to the plows, which I think we have a picture coming up that shows that. And this week is the public announcements with the plows' names. And so it's out there because people are, like I said, making comments. But the other person that worked really hard on this and deserves a lot of kudos, if you will, is Stephanie Baldwin. She's one of our sign techs, and she designed all these. If you are familiar with Cricut and you know the things that you can do with the Cricut machine, it's kind of like a giant Cricut. And so she printed all these out and put these on our snow plows for us. So that's her and Robert there. Kindergarten got Plowy McPlowface. First, it was a toss-up between, it's not Tinkerbell, but it's closer. Sprinkle Bell. It was a tie between Sprinkle Bell and Lightning McQueen, and internally we just couldn't do a Sprinkle Bell. So it's Lightning McQueen for first grade, and second was Frosty the Snowplow, third was Baby Snowda, fourth was Darth Vader, and fifth was Fast and Furious. So it was a good time, and the staff's had a lot of fun putting it together. We appreciate the opportunity to take a little bit of our work time to do something fun too. So, are there any questions on the?
Thank you so much. Council, do you have any questions? We could all make comments. I love it, absolutely love it. Thank you.
For the record, I might have had one guy that would drive Snicker Bell, but I'm not sure. So thank you for your time.
Oh, thank you for your work, love it.
Thank you.
If you want to do a golf cart, we can do one for Darrell. Crash.
Crash.
I'm talking about
Sir Crash a lot or something.
You know, we have such an amazing team. I appreciate Don, Crystal, thank you. You do a great job, Tom, Jeff. We've got just an amazing team that does great work. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so our next report, Adam.
That's cool.
This is a Parks and Rec staff report. It's a forestry update. And Adam Mancini is our city forester. And Adam, thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for having me tonight. Appreciate being here. Tonight, it's a little bit different for forestry to do communication. What I wanted to do is want to talk about an up-and-coming bill that we will most likely be seeing in session this year. So I wanted to just make you aware of it. Some of you, if you aren't aware of it, I'll just give you a little bit of insight on it when I go through my presentation. And I welcome any questions or comments as we go. I'm happy to answer them and try to give some more clarity if need be. So just some key points of the bill. It's basically between outdoor advertising signs and businesses along the right-of-way, and it's trees and vegetation versus the signs. And what it is it's looking at all the responsible entities, which would include cities, counties, states, et cetera, to establish a landscape control permit for this purpose. And this purpose would be any owner of a business sign or outdoor advertising sign would have the ability to remove any trees or vegetation within 150 feet of that sign, and up to potentially up to 500 feet based on the speed of travel for the target view of that sign. So just to give you an idea, if you were to imagine every business within Idaho, and this would be statewide, but even just thinking about Nampa on a smaller scale, any business along in Nampa that has a business sign or street sign along the right-of-way would have the ability to remove trees that could potentially be blocking it or in front of their business up to 500 feet from their sign, which would, of course, impede on potential neighboring businesses and give neighboring businesses possibly the opportunity to not have a say in this. And so that could create some disputes and some conflictions between businesses and neighbors. So just that's kind of the concern. The other thing is it would limit the amount of the costs. The bill is saying $500 for the removal of a larger tree and $200 for the removal of a smaller tree. So knowing the cost of this type of tree work, that's not realistic. So that's another concern. So as you know, Nampa has, in our code, we have ordinances for trees, and they have their purpose, and we feel like they're established for various reasons, and it allows Nampa to manage their tree canopy in a fair and constructive way to maintain a healthy tree canopy and have the trees be able to contribute to the community and provide the benefits that they provide. 95 cities, other cities within the state of Idaho also have adopted a tree ordinance. So this would affect Nampa and 95 other cities within the state of Idaho. We all know there's lots of benefits of trees. I won't get into that, but just want you to be considering those benefits that trees do provide. I also know that businesses provide benefits to our community as well, and I'm not negating that at all. I just want to make sure that you're clear and understand that these trees could be lost and forgotten about and removed without any concern. So why does Nampa care? There's a lot of reasons why Nampa could potentially be concerned about this. Because we have tree ordinances that we successfully manage our trees within our community. And we have a process in place for that. The process is if someone wanted to remove a tree for any reason along the right-of-way, they have the ability to provide a permit, and the permit is either accepted or denied. And if the permit is accepted, then they can go forward and remove the tree without question. If it's denied, then they have the opportunity to appeal the denial and come before yourselves to either make a decision, yes or no, to overrule, or potentially, in the most recent case, we come back and provide options for council to make a conscious decision on what's best for the community and best for the business. And that's proven successful. Also, if you weren't aware, the federal government is established, or actually has signed, the Inflation Reduction Act. Within the Inflation Reduction Act, there is $1.5 billion that is slated for enhancing and building community forest and the urban forest. So the federal government is definitely seeing a value, and they're trying to have an initiative towards climate change, when they usually only budget about 30 million for this purpose. So they definitely see value in trees in the community, and they're pushing for that. So here's just an example. You see this is locally, this is on Nampa, in Nampa here on 11th Avenue, and we compromise and we work with businesses. We want to establish a relationship with the businesses, and we want to support them and make sure they're successful, because if they're not successful, they're not going to be able to contribute and won't want to be in our community and be in Nampa. So what we do oftentimes is we'll work with the businesses, and if they have their sign at a street level where it's visible for motorists at plain eye view, and we raise the canopy of the trees up, it provides a win-win for both. So again, our forestry division really works hard to compromise. Another situation where we've looked to compromise is our downtown Nampa. We love the trees in downtown Nampa and the historic district in downtown. We've revised our streetscape plan downtown Nampa to reduce the amount of trees and only have them in key locations on the bulb outs and in strategic spots to allow for the businesses to be visible and be seen more freely, and allow for parking and cars to have ability to park without trees dropping on them and so forth. So there's another situation where we've compromised with businesses. And this is another spot here in Nampa where we did the same thing. We talked to the businesses, and they were able to bring the signs down and make them more visible and at the motorist view as they're passing along the roadways, and then we raised the canopies up. Here's a recent decision that was made. I was in communications with the business owners of this strip mall here across from the Idaho Center, and I was eating lunch one day at Happy Teriyaki, and the business owner came out and he asked, "Is there any way we can do anything about the trees?" And I said, "Absolutely." I said, "Let's take a look at it." So I worked with him and we discussed options. I said, first of all, it would be a really good idea if you did some maintenance on the trees, thinned them out, trimmed them a little bit, provide some visibility. And then I said, I would authorize you to be able to remove 2 trees because I feel like it is overplanted, and I made an exception to this consideration because it was a case-by-case basis, and I wanted to support the business. So we removed that tree, we removed that tree. We didn't, he hired a contractor. And there's a sign there behind that tree that establishes the businesses within that strip mall, and you can't even see it. So I understood his concern, and I was sensitive to it. So we allowed them to remove the trees, and this picture I took about a week ago. So you can see it almost looks like a completely different business complex, but it really opened it up and made a big difference. So we're willing to work with people, but the point I'm getting to is we wouldn't have this ability to work with businesses and be able to control our urban forest. The businesses would then have the authority and would have the ability to remove the trees, whatever trees they wanted that they felt were blocking their businesses. And within about the 15 years that I know of, we've only had one appeal to deny the permits that have been submitted that come before council, and some of you may remember that. And it was a situation that we came to agree on, and I think it was a win-win. And I would like to avoid businesses to be able to take control of our tree canopy and make decisions where council and mayor can't make decisions anymore. It would basically relinquish you folks of being able to make decisions on a case-by-case basis for trees versus signs. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. That's what this bill would do. It would eliminate that opportunity. These are obviously in Boise, but this just gives you a perspective. I wanted to give you a perspective of a business district without any trees. This is probably back in the 70s, and this is what it looks like now. So you can see the trees really contribute to outdoor dining, outdoor shopping, and to a business district. So yes, they can potentially block signs, but a lot of times people don't rely on signs anymore when they have GPS or they have an address. They know where they're going with your phones and your smartphone navigating you. This is one more here. This is again in Boise, but it gives you an idea. This is the exact same location with some trees and how different it makes. So I thank you for your time this evening. I want to open it up for any questions or comments. Feel free.
Mayor.
Yes.
Adam, as far as looking at House Bill 819, it indicates the cost associated with removal of larger and smaller trees. Is that the only mitigation element? It's not like you're replacing caliper per caliper for trees that are removed, like Boise has, Eagle has. That's not what this is doing, is it?
Correct. So Councilman Havelfield, this specifically is a removal. There's no replacements even factored into this bill. So the trees would be removed, and there would be no replacements at all. And the cost is incurred based on the size, the caliper of the tree. The $200, I believe, is 2 to 3 inch caliper or smaller. And the $400 is for larger caliper, which again, that's not even a realistic expense. A larger caliper tree, a mature 30, 40-foot tree can cost upwards of $2,000 to $3,000 to remove. So the responsible entity, which would potentially be the city, could maybe incur that cost as well. It's not very clear in the bill how that's addressed. So there's definitely some concerns with that, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
So we will keep you apprised of this bill when it comes forward, when it gets printed. We'll notify everyone, we'll be tracking, and then we'll just bring updates as we move forward. Adam, thank you so much for giving us an update now.
Absolutely.
We appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you,
Thank you for
Council.
your work. Cliff, I'll let you come forward and introduce our speaker this evening.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. Cliff Long, Senior Director in Development Services. I'd like to introduce Mike Pena to you. I know all of you know Mike, but he represents Colliers, which is Nampa's only full-service commercial brokerage. Earlier this fall, I had the pleasure of hearing Mike make a similar presentation to a group at CWI comprised of the Boise Valley Economic Partnership. And then again, many of you may have seen Mike speak at the Chamber's Economic Forum. Mike and his firm track real estate data locally and throughout the valley, and they do it very methodically. And I think that our timing is good in this period of just catching a little breath from coming off several years of record growth for both residential and industrial projects, to hear Mike's thoughts on our market today. So with that, please join me in welcoming Mike.
Thank you, Cliff, and welcome, Mike.
Thank you for that nice introduction. Pleasure to be here. Mayor Kling, President Haverfield, honorable council and staff. Before I get started, I'm here because of my involvement with the community. I don't sell homes. I do commercial buildings, but I do track key commercial real estate drivers that affect our housing needs. And I felt it was viable information that can help our city council and mayor make some difficult decisions on planning in the future. I'm committed to the city of Nampa. I care deeply for it. I'm a small business owner here. As many of you know, I'm the past chairman of the board for the Chamber of Commerce. I'm still on the executive board. I'm on the St. Alphonsus Hospital Board in Nampa, and I'm also the president of the foundation board for CWI. And all three of my kids own houses in Nampa, so I want Nampa to be successful. Multifamily, high-density housing's not everyone's favorite topic, but it's a real issue. And so I'm gonna provide data here. The data is real. And then I'm also gonna give some of my analysis to kind of help the city council and the mayor manage future growth. So with that, here's the great news. Here's the major indices that we track. Multifamily, very strong. The vacancy is at 2.5%. We've been seeing that go back and forth from about 1% to 3% over the last several years. Big complexes will come on the market. They'll get leased out. Industrial, which has been one of the biggest catalysts for drivers of success in Cannon County and for Nampa, very healthy, 1.9%. There's a lot going on right now there, and we have another slide. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. Retail, 4.1% vacancy. You know, everyone thought retail was going to die with Amazon. We're grateful to have Amazon on our computer, but our bricks and mortar businesses are doing very well. The story of the year, though, is our office vacancy, 1.2%, lowest in the history of tracking. I think a lot of that has to do with the mayor and the council on not shutting our businesses down during COVID. They've remained strong, and we've had a strong in-migration, and it's helped our economy be strong. Overall, typical healthy vacancy on these are usually in that 6 to 8%. So we're going into these difficult times with high inflation and high interest rates from a position of strength. And I think it's a good testament to our city leadership on the strength that we're having right here with our businesses. This right here, I just kind of want to do a quick slide just showing over the last 3 years how we've seen our vacancy track lower as our population's growth. You can really tell at the end of 2020 when the COVID pandemic hit and we had this big influx of people here, but it's driving all of these indices down, and you can tell that our businesses are pretty healthy right now. New industrial development. So there's over 3.5 million square feet of industrial buildings right now that are being advertised as for lease or for sale in Canyon County. That's awesome, right? But who's going to fill those jobs, right? So it's a demand driver for housing. Historically, we've seen about 1 to 2 million of spec buildings being done. This is a record for us. I do not think this time we're going to fulfill all these buildings by the time they're done. We're projecting maybe 60% of them will be leased out or sold. But that's not all bad, because we have a lot of companies that want to come to our community, and there hasn't been any inventory, so having some inventory can be good. We're projecting we're probably going to be 6 to 8% vacancy next year with new inventory on the line, which, again, that's a healthy market. But I work with businesses, but one concern I'm hearing, though, is some of these businesses that are looking to either expand or come to Nampa is the cost of housing, and it's a concern, and it has turned some businesses away. Dive down a little bit deeper into our multifamily and single-family vacancy. Again, you can see it's very strong. Overall, we're at a little over 3% vacancy, so there's good demand out there. When we look at what drives developers on multifamily, it's once they see a couple quarters of 5% vacancy, they feel the market's starting to get a little saturation, and they're probably going to pull back on the development. Sub 5, the demand drivers are there, and they're going to continue to want to develop. We're not going to see any rent relief for people that are renting until we see a couple quarters of around 7%. Historically, that's when it usually happens. So I took this slide from a city council meeting from Boise last year because I thought it was very intuitive on affordable housing. And if you look at these wages, for you to afford a house or an apartment in that 1,000 to 1,500 square feet, you've got to be making $19.25 to $28.85 an hour, which is about 48% of the population in the valley. So think of that number when I show you the next slide. Our average 2-bedroom, 2-bath in Canyon County, average, not new, $1,550 is what they're leasing for. So that's more than that $28.95 an hour you need to afford a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. And it's a supply and demand. That's what it comes down to. Not having affordable housing, not having workforce housing, multifamily is going to, high density can help in this. The other thing that's going to compound the demand for multifamily, again, here, the facts are, we can look at our permits in Canyon County right here. For the last few years, you can see that they're at the lowest since 2019. Why is this happening? Well, we have, as everybody knows, we've had record high single detached family pricing, right? And interest rates have doubled in the last several months. The houses are not affordable. I know I have 3 kids in my 20s. It was a struggle to get them into houses in Nampa. It was a struggle. We did it. It's not going to get worse because the builders, they can see these clouds ahead of us. They're pulled back. So we're going to have less single-family houses coming on the market, even though this demand's here. So that's going to put more demand on multifamily affordable temporary housing. I think it's going to take a couple of years for that market to correct. So what my analysis from looking at this data is we have growth coming. We have lots of demand drivers coming, especially on those 3.5 million square feet of industrial buildings. It's going to put more pressure on our housing housing needs. I think now is a time for the city leadership to really plan on how we want to go forward with high-density multifamily submarkets. I mean, and I don't want apartments everywhere. They got to be smart. We got to put them in the right places. I'd like, you know, in my commercial real estate experience, they need to be near I-84 ingress and egress points, near medical hospital areas, especially near employment areas. So we're not having all this congestion on our interstates and our roads where they can walk, ride a bike in good weather, maybe a 1-minute drive during days like today. So, you know, the areas that come out are around the Karcher, Treasure Valley Marketplace and I-84, and especially around the Idaho Center, which has a lot of land that has yet to be developed. Everyone used to say, you know, to live, work, play. I think I need to add educate there. CWI has 90 acres of ground. We're moving forward, as most people know, with the new Health and Science building. It's going to be about 110,000 feet. We anticipate that to be done in about 3 years. But over the next 50 years, we're going to see a significant amount of education buildings done on the CWI campus. And we need to have some insight and thought on where those 2-year students are going to live, and having apartments there and next to grocery stores, next to hospitals. Lastly, you can't be pro-ag and against high-density housing. Our ag industry is so important to Canyon County. We grow the seeds that feed the world. Once this ag land is gone, it's gone. And so we've got to do smart planning, and high density has its place. Our ag has its place too, and I think we can do both of those successfully. And finally, everybody that owns a single family home in Canyon County knows that property taxes are a difficult subject. And the way we get out of this is by having good commercial real estate developments, you know, apartment complexes that are $85, $100 million. There's no tax deductions on that. It goes right to the city, and it's a more affordable for the city to do services. So I know I've thrown a lot out there. I appreciate the time to be here. I don't know if there's any questions, but I do appreciate the time.
Council, do you have any questions?
Mayor Kling?
Yes.
I do. Mike, thank you for that information. I have been worried and contemplating about our future growth, and especially regarding growth in terms of employment as well. And one of the things that I'm really concerned about, and it kind of bothers me, is the market cost of a new home forces rentals. Is that right?
Affordability is always an issue. In fact, I don't know if most folks saw that. I think last week, the Press Tribune, the AARP did an analysis in the city of Meridian on high-density housing versus single detached. I think they're doing Napa next. But yeah, it's an affordability issue. So it mostly affects young people that are just coming out of high school or college, and then elderly people that may be on a fixed income and want to downsize and not take care of a yard. So there's this affordability issue that on that side, but not being able to afford a single-family house right now, which is a very difficult thing, does put more people into temporary housing until the market conditions are corrected.
Well, yes, and that's, thank you for saying that.
And it's going to take a couple of years, in my opinion, to correct the current market conditions.
The thing that I worry about is, what I wish they could do is, these are all profit geared. I mean, they're profit, the result is for profit. The market value of homes is, anyway, that I see it. And they're forcing the renters. The renters are now, the homeowners, or I should say the renters, are forced to pay higher rental fees. But the easy solution would be, and I know this is just a guess wish list, is why don't the developers, or why doesn't the economy, or why doesn't the revenue, why doesn't somebody just get up and say, we need to reduce our homes so people can get in there, reduce the price and cost. Now, that's way out there. I know that. It's not feasible to do that. But I wish that we could have some kind of cap on that that would really help us deliver our growth where it ought to be. I mean, that's a new idea, probably, isn't it? Other than waiting for the inflation to fall and let us take care of it that way.
I'm personally against any market caps. I can appreciate the reasons why you want to do that. I'm for a free economy.
Yes.
But
yes.
I think, conversely, I think properly done high-density housing puts pressure on multifamily. to come in at a lower price. So if we can alleviate this low vacancy to where maybe it's 7 or 8%, right? And the $1,600 for a 2-bedroom apartment now is $1,200. In 2008, it was $850, by the way. So it's doubled. You know, if we can get those market drivers where a 2-bedroom apartment in a nice community in the right area, smart development, I don't want junk built, is in that $1,000 range, $1,200 range, that will put pressure on the single-family developers, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
right. Okay, that's.
Because they're going to have to compete with that monthly income. Because people will buy a single-family home or an apartment on what they can afford, what the wages will allow.
That's the competition right there
Right.
that we need to take a good look at. Yes. Thank you, Mike.
Yes, sir.
Mike, just a quick question. As far as, do your metrics cover affordable versus subsidized housing? And I'm not sure if that's what Victor's talking about, but subsidized housing is the only way you're going to be able to get numbers lower as far as for rental rates. But, you know, if it's not being built, if HUD's not involved or some other entity is not involved.
Yeah, subsidized housing is rare. You know, it's subsidized by taxes. We do a few projects of those, you know, occasionally here, but the numbers aren't enough to really make a big impact. My opinion is if we get more units out there, it's a more of effective supply and demand. So the more units that are out there, the more competition we're going to have. But
So the affordable side is more a quality of construction or a reduction in square footage. There's other ways that you're going to try to come up with
most of the affordable housing I've seen has been done through federal tax credits that give the developer some tax credits in order to subsidize some of the costs. We're in a really high inflation market right now, so everything's expensive, and your materials, labor, land, super high. These transitions go up and down, but historically, there has not been enough tax credits for this affordable housing, in my opinion, is enough to meet the demand. And it's more of a just strict supply and demand thing of having enough units out there to meet the growth that we've had. I mean, we've had 8% growth in the valley just over the last 2 years. That's so many people. And, you know, these transitional apartments are part of the puzzle to help those costs go down, in my opinion.
Any other comments? Mike, thank you for coming. Really appreciate your
Thank you.
information. Thank you for
Appreciate
the
it.
handouts. We appreciate them. Great job.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. That concludes our staff communications. We're going to move on to new business. We're going to begin with 6.1, which is an action item. This is a request for reconsideration of the development agreement modification, rescinding an existing agreement and zoning map amendment at 0 Middleton Road. So with this one, and this is for Challenger Development representing Endurance Holdings. I'd like to begin by deferring to our legal counsel, Todd. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and council members. We've got, and just for the audience, we only consider the request for reconsideration, what the applicant submits. We don't take additional testimony, so you have what's before you. It's a little longer than your typical reconsideration request. Their legal counsels provided their argument in regard to reconsideration, and they certainly advocate that their request was in compliance with the comprehensive plan and the zoning ordinance, as they should. But just to remind you as council members, the staff and the planning and zoning make their recommendations, but you're not required to follow those recommendations. You've got conflicting evidence in every case, and it's up to you to decide which evidence you give more weight. The comprehensive plan is not a guarantee. This was a request for annexation, which is a legislative action. It gives you a lot more discretion. Also, there was a request for a modification of the development agreement, which also involves discretion on your part. There were, as I said, they advocated for compliance with comp plan and zoning ordinance provisions. They referenced what they felt were some due process violations. I don't think that due process was clearly violated in this case. Their request for reconsideration, as you noted at the end, is kind of a request to revise their plan and come back before the city council. And under the current statute, or ordinance, the way it's written, if your decision for reconsideration is essentially one to have another hearing. If you grant the request, you're not saying you approve the project, you're saying we're going to have another hearing. If you deny the request, then you don't have another hearing, and they can either submit a new application or pursue other remedies they deem appropriate. So that's your decision tonight, and not to approve or deny the application, but to have another hearing or not. And I'm happy to answer other questions if you have them, Mayor.
Just want to clarify, we're not here to discuss the merits of the application. We're only here to make a decision of whether or not we want to allow reconsideration.
Correct.
Thank you. What is the will of the council?
Mayor Kling, I'm going to request to deny the reconsideration of the development agreement.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Just a clarification, Mayor, if I might. Councilmember Rodriguez, your motion was to deny the request for reconsideration. There was annexation and the development agreement, but the entire request.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, is there discussion? Councilman Haverfield?
Mayor Kling, on the surface, when I started reviewing this in our packet, my first thought was, I don't have a problem with remanding this back to planning and zoning for a modified presentation to them by the developer and their representation. As I read the letter provided in the packet from Givens Pursley, I was taken back, actually bothered by the tone of the letter stating that we weren't allowing due process, which I found to be wrong. And I thought that you did a good job of trying to control the emotions of the people in the room. The attorney's opinion was stated several times with arbitrary and capricious used in language against us. And so it really bothered me. And then when I found my name listed twice, as far as in the subnotes of making statements that I didn't make, they were actually made, sorry, Victor, they were made by you.
Thank you, Randy.
That bothered me, simply because the attorney's opinion in these, in some of these statements, again, bothered me, but the statement of reliance on the opinions of the neighbors is misplaced. I think is a wrong statement to make, and so it bothered me to go through this. I don't have a problem with them going back and retooling a new project, but I have a problem with the reconsideration request, and that's why I asked Todd what the thoughts were as far as we're not approving at all what was presented to us. All we're saying is you can go back and start over in a sense, and I don't have a problem with that. So in that regard, I'm not sure that I can support the motion because it's a full denial. I would like to see this retooled and reworked and brought back. I think that a better job could be done by the developer than what was presented to us the first time.
Thank you, Councilman Haverfield. Is there any other discussion?
Mayor, just one item. I went back and listened to the October 17th hearing on this, and I did make the proposal that if this would be altered, but my proposal was no more than 120 single detached family dwellings, and that's not what's in the letter as far as what the alternative proposal would be. So I will be voting to not rehear this.
So I didn't do the math, but in the conclusion, it says they're going to eliminate the 92 fourplex units.
Goes from 205 to, my figures was it still be 174 units, so 54 more than what I was requesting to rehear it.
Okay. Any other comments?
So, Mayor, just for then clarification, Todd, if the request for reconsideration is denied, the developer can still go back and retool something on the property and bring it back before just start the process over. Is that what their option is?
Madam Mayor and Councilmember Haverfield, yes. If the request for reconsideration is denied, they're certainly looking at a different application than what they proposed, and they can file another application for annexation and development agreement modification, more in line with what they're thinking here and/or your comments.
So they're not bound then by what's in the packet. If it's denied, they can come back with a totally different option than what was presented to us as a reconsideration option.
Madam Mayor and Councilmember Haverfield, yes. You're simply deciding whether to reconsider or not. Their options are open as to what they change.
Okay. And I'll
So-
support the motion.
Okay. With that said, if we did allow the reconsideration, could they come in with something different than they proposed in this letter? If they reduce the housing as was suggested?
Madam Mayor, the request included some specific items. I think they could probably still come in. Your request is for a new hearing. Their request is for a new hearing, so it's a de novo hearing. I suppose they could bring in something that's slightly different than what they're requesting. I guess I look at that as more as advocacy as to what their intent is with the reconsideration.
Thank you. I don't see any other comments, so roll call.
Brunner,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Haverfield,
Yes is an aye, correct? Yes.
Bauer,
Yes.
Jingula,
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
Okay. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the confirmation of Cody Daffer to fill a vacancy on the Planning and Zoning Commission. And this is item 6.2. It is an action item. Is Cody here this evening?
So moved.
Hi, Cody.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to confirm the appointment of Cody Daffer to fill a vacancy on the Planning and Zoning Commission. Thank you for your application. We appreciate it. Any comment? Roll call.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Brunner,
Yes.
Jingula,
Yes.
Bauer,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
Cody, thank you so much for your interest in serving. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Well, you know what? It's a very important role. And I just appreciate your willingness to be a part of the community and want to contribute back. So thank you so much.
You're blessed to be into the Thorne family there too, right? I mean, and Thorne family hasn't been in Nampa very long, I know. But,
Mayor Kling?
Yes.
If you mind if Cody could come up and introduce himself and talk about
Go
his-
ahead, Cody. Come on
Besides
up.
Neil, I see Neil there, I know him. And I work with Martin this weekend at the Salvation Army.
Hi, Cody.
Hi.
So remind us what you do. It
So
was in
I-
our packet, but
I work for a developer in Meridian. I started managing low-income housing out of college and discovered that you can build that stuff. And so I got into that world. I got into grad school doing real estate development and worked my way through that and finishing up that degree here this summer and moved to Idaho and met my wife and got to hang out with my in-laws and stuff. And as I was going through my education, we'd go through entitlement classes and things like that. And having had chances to present at city council meetings, I realized how, I want to say this the right way, but I realized how, what kind of an effect uninformed people can have on a council like that and how much of a detriment it can be, regardless of your opinion. If you don't understand what you're deciding on, it really hurts the process. And so I consider myself at this point educated and informed on the process, so I wanted to make sure that I had a chance to give back to the city and make sure it grows in the right direction and make an impact, I guess. I don't want to just be a developer. I want to be a community member, so that's
Thank
where
you.
I'm at.
I love that. Thank you so much. It's nice to see this next generation of leadership. You joined a good family over there.
I'm hoping this isn't the last you hear of me, so.
Yes, that's great. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate you joining us. Thank you.
Thank you.
So it is 6:30. We still have some items to cover, but we'll do those after public hearing. So let's move to the public hearing portion of our meeting. We have 3 public hearings this evening. And the first one is a continuation. Rick, am I missing something? Oh, we forgot to, yeah, we voted. We didn't vote.
No.
I am so sorry. We didn't vote.
Yes, we did.
Yes, we did. We did vote.
I made the motion.
And we did roll call.
Yes.
Yeah, we did. I thought we did. That's okay. Okay, so we are ready for our public hearings. Item 7.1 on the agenda. This is an action item. It is the consideration of the increase in golf fees for Ridgecrest and Centennial Golf Course. It is continued from the November 21 meeting. And Darren, thank you for giving us an update and introducing Tony.
Yeah. Thank you, Mayor and Council. For the record, Darren Johnson, Parks and Recreation Director. And so at the last council meeting, we were directed, after proposing some golf fees, we were directed to go back and meet with some of the stakeholders. And so I have Tony Blasius here. He's our new golf manager. He's going to come up and kind of talk about the meeting and how that went, and then we'll continue on with our recommendations.
Thank you, Darren. Good evening, Tony.
Council, thank you very much for having us here. We were tasked with meeting with this group from the prior meeting, council meeting, and we did so. We heard their concerns, which were valid. And so what we proposed to them was something that they agreed to and thought was something to move forward with. I'll let Darren get into the numbers, but I think it was great to hear them. And I think what we're going to do going forward is have more discussions with this group to kind of keep them abreast of what is going on for Centennial and Ridgecrest and have some transparency with that group, because I believe that they were concerned about where we were going, what are we doing in the future. And so I think we had a great discussion and got a lot out of it, and moving forward, we'll educate them a little bit more.
That's great. Tony, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. We're so glad to have you on board.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And understand there could be public comment, but in your packet, you're seeing option 2 and option 3. Option 2 is what we proposed last city council. Option 3 is the change. The change is basically everything is left the same with the exception of pass holders at Centennial. Those compared to option 2, option 3, the Centennial pass holders were reduced, along with trail fees. That trail fee was reduced, and that is good for Centennial and Ridgecrest. Ridgecrest fees were left the same with the exception of that one trail fee. And so it's our recommendation that City Council would approve option 3. We believe we can make that work, and that'll give us time in the future to reevaluate fees over the next year and evaluate our expenses and make maybe a little change in our pricing structure for next year.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Darren?
I have several, Mayor.
And then do you guys all have access to the packet in your, on your computers? You do, so you have access since we're not showing it on the screen. Okay, thank you, Councilman Rodriguez.
Darren, I know we've discussed a lot about the golf courses. I'm concerned that we need to make those golf courses run good, and you know how I feel about that. Yeah, Ridgecrest, I'm not too concerned with them because they're doing fairly well with the clientele that they have. So specifically regarding Centennial, in the future, I see that we may need to view 5-day passes for seniors instead of 7-day restricted. What do you think about the 5-day passes? It does bring in more revenue because it prohibits the senior from playing on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And that's the biggest time that we need people to pay their green fees.
Yeah.
Is that in your model for next year?
It's something that we have discussed, Councilman Rodriguez. Our concern is that currently right now we have a 7-day unrestricted, which means that the pass holders can golf anytime Monday through Thursday, and then in the afternoons on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Currently right now, pass holders play on an average of about what they're charged after you average it out. They're charged about $21, $22 around, somewhere right around in there. Having more passes and including that on a Friday would perhaps bring in less revenue in pass holders and then give less opportunity on that Friday morning, which is a big morning, to bring in the green fees that they're paying at a higher rate. And so understand that I think it was well over 20 years ago, they had a 5-day pass like you're suggesting. Because it wasn't working out financially feasible, they decided to grandfather that. And so those through attrition, those are going away. So they had that pass, it wasn't working, and so now it's going away.
And I think that I should have explained, a 7-day pass, restricted pass would go away. It would only be a 5-day. If that did work out that way. The other
But
thing is.
we're willing to look at
Yes.
all options,
Okay.
Councilman.
The other thing is the senior pass holders, and I think Ron Fortner brought this up at the last hearing, was that he plays as well as his wife. And so now they're having to come up with, what, $2,500 for both of them? And I was wondering if there was something we could do to have a reduced rate if there's a family.
So it is there. If you look at the fees, there's a pass holder rate and then a spouse rate. And so do you see that spouse rate, that the spouse gets it for $750?
Yeah.
So it's $750 rather than the $1,200. So it's quite a savings for a.
Well, I think it was going to be
couple.
increased before when you came to council last time, right?
Both of them,
Yeah.
yes, it was going to be
Right,
increased.
so it's back down to.
Last year's rate.
Okay, all right, that's all I have. Thank you.
Are there any other questions for Darren at this time? Thank you, Darren. We will open the public hearing, and so we do have a public hearing, and we have,
Madam Mayor, we have Mike Foley who would like to speak in opposition.
good evening, Mike. Go ahead and give us your name again and your address, and thank you for joining us.
You betcha. Council, thank you for letting me speak. Mike Foley, live in Darmondy Loop in Kensington, which is less than a mile from Ridgecrest. I'm retired military, retired law enforcement, and what I deal with is a lot of officers, enlisted people that don't have an avenue to get out. You know, and when I heard that they were getting ready to raise the prices here again, that's what I was coming here for, was to plead with you guys not to do that. We don't have an avenue to where there's a discount for military or law enforcement or anything like that. And the suicide rate right now is incredible for these kind of guys. So that's what I'm asking you guys, just to please consider, you know, when we're starting to lay these things out, to, if there's a disabled vet deal or law enforcement, that we can get these guys back out there and, you know, let them, you know, do something. So that's all I'm asking. You know, I'm glad that the rates weren't going up, but if we could look at something else to where it was more affordable for these guys too.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate your comments. We will certainly take that into consideration as we talk about a senior rate in the future. We're going to talk about that, and we will add the retired law enforcement and military be included in that. So thank you. Really appreciate you
Thank you.
taking time to come and comment. Thank you.
Yeah, this was the only place it was snowing too. You know, everywhere else was clear.
That just makes it so much fun.
And
Thank
Mike is
you.
the best next door neighbor ever.
Aha, that's how it came. That's good.
Does she sing in the morning?
Sing in the morning.
Always.
He does.
Is there anyone else?
No, Madam Mayor.
Okay. At this time, we don't have anyone else signed up to testify. Is there anyone here that had intended to testify that did not get signed up? They all came last time. Go ahead, come up. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dave Bach, and I'm a neighbor of Mike's, and he let me know about this meeting tonight. One thing that I live a mile from him, and I looked up and I didn't see exactly what the price increase was. I think it was $200 for a season pass holder. And I just kind of went through my notes from the last 4 years. And in 2019, we had $1,110 that we paid for a season pass. 2022, that's $1,800. So that's an increase of $690. And kind of piggybacking on Mike's comments, that's a 20.72% average over the last 3 years to 4 years. So if you're looking at increases in the valley, Quail Hollow, Warm Springs, those increases are only a 10 to 11%. So if that's going to be in line with what our rates are proposed, then I think we can live with it. But I think if we can get some help for the vets, the police, I think that should be done. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your comment. When you come back up, Darren, I'd like you, let's talk about real quickly the price comparison. But I want to ask first, is there anyone else here that had intended to testify that did not get signed up? Okay, seeing none. Darren, would you mind providing just the information related to this fine gentleman's comments? Because our percentage of increase may be higher, but if I understood correctly, and I've got to go back and look, my thought was we were still priced lower than those others.
Yeah.
But I think he mentioned Quail Hollow, and is that the one that just says Quail on it?
Correct, Mayor.
Okay, so we're still lower than, is that correct?
Yes.
We proposed, what is our Ridgecrest fee? I don't see it on this document. Well, that's the 9 holes, so.
Yeah, that's proposed. Ridgecrest is proposed. So for which pass are you looking for, Mayor?
Well, just in general, if we could look at the comparison between, the various ones, just a really quick recap.
Yeah. So adult 7-day restricted pass at Ridgecrest is $1,775, $1,200 at Centennial. Warm Springs, and one of the things that you have to take into consideration is taxes. So ours includes taxes. I'm not sure all these include taxes, so it is possible that some of these would be increased 6%.
So I think what you were just saying is that the season passes are tax-free. The taxes are included in the total price, right?
Yeah.
There is not a tax on top of the fee. It's actually included in the fee, which does offset that overall cost, depending on what we're comparing to.
So, and I'm looking at Quail Hollow here. They have $992 for 23, so we could be a little higher than Quail, or we'll be really close to Quail Hollow. And so, one of the, our market is, as we look at the pass holders at Centennial, most, probably over 50% are from Nampa, have a Nampa address. And then next in line is Meridian. We have a really big attendance and pass holder participation from Meridian. Very few Caldwell, very few from Boise that go to Centennial. And so, and I think one of the things that has changed that our passes have been perhaps maybe undervalued and trying to catch those up into a better market comparison. One of the things I think that sets us apart a little bit is that the purchase of the golf courses, and what we're trying to do is being able to generate the revenue to pay for the golf courses. I think if you looked at these other municipal golf courses that they don't have debt, we will have debt after we purchase the golf courses. And so building up the revenue is important.
Thank you, Darren. Are there any other questions for Darren? Okay, Darren, thank you. So I would stand for a motion to close public hearing.
Moved.
Okay, council discussion? I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Is there a motion? There was. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'm sorry. I just moved straight past that into council discussion. My good excuse is when you chair a different meeting earlier in the day and the rules are all different, I got to shift my head here. Wow. Okay, now council discussion or a motion.
Mayor Kling, is is this meant to be two motions or just the one? I guess it's the one, and then you'll read the.
We will read, the resolution will be after that.
I think
Yes.
based upon the recommendation in the packet, I would make a motion to adopt option 3, the revised option 3 that's been presented to us.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt option 3 as the proposed fees for Centennial and Ridgecrest. Is there any discussion?
Mayor Kling?
Yes.
Yes, I do have. I'm having difficulty with this decision because I don't think it's the right decision for us. But it's better than what we have, and I know that. And Darren and Tony have really worked hard with our guys, our golfers, so thank you for that. However, what Dave Vaughn said, he had home. If you don't know Dave, raise your hand again so you can see you. We do, and the other gentleman, Mike, is that your name, Mike? Is that every golf course has a special price for seniors, for vets, and for first responders. We're the only ones that doesn't. And I don't think Ridgecrest does either. Do they, Scott?
No, the military discount is up on your screen.
Okay.
All the other golf courses.
Okay. So, and also, I really want to consider that. Should we consider that now, or should we consider it down the road? I don't know that it would take a public hearing to do that, but I'll figure that out with you, Mayor. And the other thing is I really want you to look into the 5-day passes, just to see what kind of revenue we'll get or what the results would be if we did do that. I think that every year that we have raised the golf fees, every year ever since I've been a councilman, and I know our objective is to pay for the courses, and we need revenue for that. But I know Darren, he's walked a fine line with our golfers and with us. So I believe I'll support the motion and keep in mind of my other direction, Tony, okay? All right.
So just so you know, Tony, we had a meeting before coming into this meeting and did discuss the senior option. We had not discussed the military and law enforcement, so I really appreciate that. We actually made a commitment and discussed the reasoning of moving that direction or proposing it tonight or not. Because of the change and because it wasn't advertised that way, the decision we made was to go ahead and come forward with a recommendation that they had proposed, and then we're going to begin the process of talking about what that looks like, and that will come forward in the future, the military, law enforcement, and seniors discount. So it definitely is on the radar.
Oh, thank you, Mayor.
So, thank you.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
Mayor, really quickly,
Yes.
I just want to second what Councilmember Rodriguez said. We have Jackie Briggs that comes here with Courageous Survival and talks to us about the need for military and police officers and the PTSD and the things that they go through and what resources that we need to offer in our community to provide for them. And I think that this is an avenue for that. I think that really did hit home. So I can support the motion tonight with the fees for number 3, but I would like to see that moving forward if we can look into those options to what would be a good happy medium there to provide a benefit.
Yes. Thank you. Any other comment? Discussion. Roll call.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Jingula.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Bauer.
Yes.
Bruner.
Yes.
Everfield.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
The next item on the agenda is actually to authorize the mayor to sign the resolution that was included in your packet, increasing the golf fees at Centennial and Ridgecrest golf courses.
So moved under suspension of rules, I assume.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion?
Does she have to read the resolution?
Not a resolution, just an ordinance.
That's right.
Yes. Okay, roll call.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Bruner.
Yes.
Jingula.
Yes.
Bauer.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Everfield.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
Okay, so you guys are done. You don't have to stay any longer.
I'm sure they want.
Thank you guys for coming. Really appreciate it.
Mayor, do you want to set
You can join via Teams. Yep. Okay, so item 7.2 is an action item. This is annexation and zoning to light industrial and a potential development agreement for 16763 Madison Road. This is a 3-acre parcel located, well, we already said the address, so it's for Victor Polyakov. Thank you. I knew I was going to mess it up. Thank you so much. And this is to connect existing personal storage shop warehouse to sewer service. Is the applicant here?
Madam
Hi.
Mayor?
Yes.
Just real quick, I just wanted to have it on record. Victor's a good friend of mine. We work together from time to time. However, I have no financial interest in this at all, and I did speak with legal about it ahead of time.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing that forward. So go ahead and come forward, and I'll let you say your name correctly and your address and talk to us about what you're wanting to accomplish. And I'm so sorry I didn't say your name right.
It's all good. I'm happy to be here in front of all of you, making decisions. And so my name is Victor Polyakov. Property 16763 Madison Road, an application for annexation, rezoning, and light industrial, and also hook it up existing house and shops to city sewer. That's it.
So we have a picture of the location. So do you currently reside at this location?
If I live there, no.
Yes. No, okay, but this is your property. Okay. So council, do we have any questions, or would we like to hear a staff report and then we'll come back? Okay, so Victor, we're going to listen to a staff report, we're going to open public hearing, and then we will have you come back and wrap us up. So we'll get to have you come back. Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, Christy.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Christy Watkins, Principal Planner for the City of Nampa. The request before you this evening is for approval or denial of the annexation and zoning to IL at 16763 Madison Road. So I will start with the findings. As you know, we have to find for the items for annexation and also to approve the type of zoning. So staff finds that the property is contiguous to the city limits on the east and south sides where it adjoins the IL zoned properties that are already within the city limits. The proposed IL zoning is consistent with the comprehensive plan future land use map of industrial. Therefore, IL would not create a spot zone. Land uses in the area consist of Canyon County ag uses and city industrial zoned properties. The area of the city is developing currently into multiple industrial uses. There is currently a commercial and industrial use in place in the existing house and shop. The new shop that is currently being constructed under Canyon County guidelines will house an additional commercial and industrial tenant. Upon any site improvement or change of use action taken after annexation into the city, the applicant or owner shall comply with city codes, policies, and standards that are in place at the time of the building permit submittal. City services and utilities are available to this property. Nampa recently annexed 300-plus acres of potential industrial properties to the west of Madison Road. Industrial shell buildings are currently being constructed to the south on both sides of Madison Road. City codes are written to protect the public interest by providing guidance for development. Therefore, this project is presumed to be in the public interest because if it proposes any site improvements or changes to its use in the future, all applicable codes in regards to that use in the IL zone and site improvements shall be followed. Upon annexation of this property, they will dedicate right-of-way along Madison Road and make the appropriate site improvements upon submittal of building permit applications. The only correspondence we received was from the building department with the standard Title IV building regulations and engineering, which outlines requirements for right-of-way dedication, utilities, and conditions of approval. Your conditions of approval are listed in your staff report and are based on those engineering comments. These are your motions. I will stand for any questions.
Thank you, Christy. Are there any questions for Christy?
Madam Mayor, I have a question for Christy. In the packet, it talks about requiring sidewalk, curb, and gutter. I know we've had at least one other person come before us for a variance on the sidewalk on Madison. Is that something that will have to be addressed at a later time? Is it with a variance, or can it be taken out of this? Because there isn't any sidewalks on Madison currently.
Councilman Reynolds, that would only be if they were to make a significant amount of improvement after annexation. So what they have happening now is current uses in the county. Those uses are grandfathered upon annexation. If they expand them significantly, that's when they would be required to do those, and at that time, they could possibly ask for a waiver.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Good question. I appreciate that question. Thank you, Christy.
Thank
Are there
you.
any other questions? Seeing none, this is a public hearing. Do we have anyone signed up?
No, we do not, Madam Mayor.
Is there anyone here that had intended to speak on this, at this particular public hearing? Seeing no one, this is an opportunity for our applicant. Victor, if you would like to come forward. Council, or I'll ask, do you have any closing comments that you would like to make?
No, it's all good. I thank you very much.
Okay, no closing comments. Council, do you have any questions? Okay, thank you so much. I would stand for a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
This is an opportunity for council discussion and/or a motion.
Madam Mayor, I move to approve the annexation and zoning to IL, Light Industrial Zoning District at 16763 Madison Road for Victor N. Polikov, with all conditions of approval, and to adopt the findings for approval as listed in the staff report.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
Jangula.
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
Bauer.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
Victor, you're good to go. Great, thank you for being here this evening. 7.3, our last public hearing, is an action item. This is a variance to the Nampa City Code 1016-4C and 1016-6A, requiring a minimum 20-foot structure and parking setback for the primary front property line. And 2, Nampa City Code 1033-4C, requiring a 15-foot landscape buffer for Priority Electric. This is related to the widening of State Highway 55 right-of-way in a community business zoning district at 0 Caldwell Boulevard, fronting Karcher Road. And this is for Matt Garner, representing Ryan Van Matee. Matee?
Mayor Kling.
Yes.
Matt is representing our firm as well, so I'll be recusing myself and sitting down in the audience.
Have fun.
Yeah.
Thank you, Randy. Matt, thank you for coming forward, walking us through this.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. Again, it's Matt Garner, 224 16th Avenue South, Nampa, 83651. So this project has been in our office for a couple of years now. And we've been trying like crazy to get this thing passed and built, but we keep running into challenges, and now the widening of the highway is causing some more of that. So I've got a little bit of a presentation here that I'll kind of walk you through a little bit of the history. Let's see. So here's our project, and this came through design review back in February of 2021. And it was approved, and you can see the map up there, kind of where the project's at. We're just west of Caldwell Boulevard on Karcher Road, on the north side of the road. And so this project will actually front Karcher Road in front of that new boat and RV storage place that's there. And so this will be out in front of that. Again, as you see, we went through building site design review back in February. That was approved. And so as we move forward, these were the approved documents as they were approved at the design review. And you see the site plan here. The building was larger than it can be now. As we went through the process, we found that we have this big gray line that kind of goes across the site plan. That's an easement, and it's I think it's a 24-inch pressurized irrigation main that runs kind of diagonal and through the property. And really, it made us have to shrink the building down just to get it on the site. And you kind of see on the site plan here where we had to add some landscaping and then shrink the building down and shift it to the west. But in the process of that, it's not only the main that go underneath the ground, but there are some vaults that are involved that stick up out of the ground. And that back behind the building is supposed to be a fenced vehicle and material storage yard. But if with those vaults that are sticking up out of the ground, it doesn't make it very easy to get their vehicles in and out. So then they were going to have to raise up the ground to kind of bury those down there, figure out some way of getting traffic rated grills over the top of them. It was kind of a challenge. So here you can kind of see some pictures of those vaults and the facilities. And if you see down here in the front, you have the vaults, but you also have a pump station. And then we found that there's also another sewer or pressurized irrigation main that runs along the front of the property. So you have the two, and the facilities that are down here in the corner, they're going to require maintenance on those pumps, and they require big vehicles to get in there to crane the pump out and all that good stuff. So Pioneer Irrigation has told us that we need to make sure that we have access to that. And so a lot of these that are just challenges to the site. Well, then we came in contact with ITD, and now they want to widen the road. And so this is basically showing you what it's going to do to the site. And part of what we're challenged with is let's get down here to it. Back. Okay. So they're going to basically move the front of the property back in that frontage landscaping area that we had. And if I skip to, so you can see it. Right here. And so what we've had to do is modify the front of that. And with the sewer easements, the owner wanted to propose moving that diagonal one that went through the site, combining the two pressurized irrigation mains into one and run it along the front of the property. But that's still going to be shifted back out of ITD's easement. And so what it does is it prohibits us from planting any trees in that easement along the frontage there. So we would normally be required to put trees along the frontage, but now we are unable to put them in there. So what we've done is we've gone back and shifted the building back. So now the sewer line is going to, or the pressurized irrigation line will run along the frontage and then up that west boundary. And so we shifted the building back to the other side and put that space down on the west side of the property, and we're able to add trees there. And so we've gone from 13 trees down to 9 trees on the entire site. And so we've done our very best to make sure that we planted it as best we could. And so that's basically kind of what the project is all about. So if you have any questions, I'd love to answer those.
Thank you. Council, do we have any questions? No questions.
Okay.
There you go. Matt, we'll have you back if we need to.
You bet.
Okay, Christy.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Christy Watkins, Principal Planner for the City of Nampa. As stated, the request before you this evening is a variance for building front setbacks and landscape buffer widths for Priority Electric on Karcher Road. A little bit of history, which he covered very well. This was originally a part of the parcel that is now the Karcher Boat and RV. It was split off to be sold as a fronting tenant space on Karcher Road, and will screen those storage units from view of Karcher Road. Did receive design review approval in February of 2021, will expire in February of 2023 unless they submit a building permit in that time. They can ask for an extension. So the entire property is pretty much surrounded by commercial uses. It's very similar to the property immediately next door, which we spoke about a couple weeks ago. To the south is an apartment complex in an RD zone. So because of the location of the irrigation facilities and the future widening of Karcher Road, the site shows challenging site characteristics, which is part of the criteria for evaluating the variance. Just last last city council meeting, you allowed for decreased setbacks and landscape widths due to the same extenuating site circumstances on the immediately adjacent property. To date, staff has not received any comments from concerned citizens, and no significant comments were received from any agency partners. Based on the existing landscape treatment on the property to the west, there appears to be no ill effect to the community for a lesser treatment than is required by code. Minimal treatment is also a benefit to the irrigation district and the maintenance of its facility. So there are 5 criteria to approve a variance, and staff finds that in the BC zone, which allows for a building contractor's office, that has been anticipated use of this property since its creation and purchase in April of 2020. The literal interpretation of city code in regards to the setbacks, parking, and landscaping requirements would render portions of the existing circulation, exterior storage, and parking area unusable. ITD is widening Karcher Road and acquiring right-of-way from this parcel, narrowing the available area on the property. There is an irrigation easement that bisects the property, creating areas where no structures may be placed. The originally proposed building is being scaled down to accommodate the space needed without losing necessary exterior storage space behind the structure and without decreasing traffic circulation around the front and side of the structure. The irrigation district has requested access for maintenance to their facilities that are within the subject site. Keeping this area free of planting materials and other obstacles also limits the usable area on the site. These extraordinary site circumstances have created challenges with site design and functionality of the space. Other area property owners have already been approved for a variance of setbacks and landscape buffer width for the same reasons as this request, so it would not be allowing a privilege that others have not already been granted. Based on previous judgments by City Council, denial of this request would deprive the applicant of privileges enjoyed by others. With the ITD plans for widening this corridor, this is not the first request, and it would stand to reason that this may not be the last time we receive requests similar to this one. This project still intends to emplace landscaping to the extent that they can within the irrigation easement, and will provide other areas with lawn and shrubs to help mitigate the lessened amount of landscaping along the frontage. By providing more landscaping and convenient circulation throughout the site, it is a potential benefit to the public and does not appear to be detrimental to the safety or potential improvement of other properties in the area. So these are the potential motions. I will stand for any questions.
Council, do you have any questions for Christy? Seeing none, thank you, Christy. This
Thank
is
you.
a public hearing, and I don't believe we have anyone signed up to testify. Is there anyone here that had intended to sign up to testify on this particular issue this evening? Seeing none, Matt, would you like to provide any closing comments? And council, do you have any questions for our applicant? I don't believe we have any questions.
Okay,
So
no, I
if
just
you
think
have
that it'll be a great project. It's been a long time coming. I think one of the challenges is that with these irrigation facilities, there's only a specific time of the year when there's no irrigation water flowing through them that they can make the construction work. And so if we don't get right on it right away, it'll be delayed for another year before we can actually get the project in the ground. So we appreciate you hearing it, and I think it'll be a good project for us.
Great, thank you, Matt.
You bet.
Appreciate you being here.
Madam
Okay,
Mayor, I just
yes.
have a comment. These kind of issues are what prohibits development, and I want to say thanks to the applicant for his perseverance and not giving up and sticking with it, because I know it's tough. Just reading the packet, I thought I could feel his pain and definitely his pocketbook.
Yes.
So anyway.
It's been challenging.
Good job on the perseverance.
Thank you.
And good job from you guys taking care of him.
Thank you.
Awesome. Any additional comments? Thank you. I would stand for a motion to close public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
What is the will of the council?
Madam Mayor, I move to approve the variance to city code requiring a minimum 20-foot structure and parking setback from the primary front property line and requiring a 15-foot landscape buffer at 0 Caldwell Boulevard, fronting Karcher Road for Matt Garner, representing Priority Holdings LLC, Ryan Van Mette, hope I pronounced that right, with recommended conditions and to adopt the potential findings listed in this staff report.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
Ingula.
Yes.
Bauer. Reynolds.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
There we go. Thank you. Good night. Okay, at this time, we are going to move back to our new business agenda. And we're going to start with item 6.3 on the agenda. This is an action item. And I'll take a deep breath and pause to give Randy a chance to get back in his chair. There we go. Good night to everyone. Okay, this is to authorize the mayor to sign an agreement to waive the first right of refusal and terminate the lease with Aero Services dated January 1, 2007, and 2, for the Nampa Municipal Airport Land Lease Agreement and Memorandum of Lease with Return to Service LLC, which would be effective December 1, 2022 for Lot 0640. It was reviewed and approved by legal.
So move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
Bauer. Jingula.
Yes.
Brunner.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
Item 6.4 is an action item to authorize the mayor and the Public Works Director to sign the task order for the water and irrigation SCADA system update and upgrades with Advanced Control Systems LLC in the amount of $72,125. And this was approved in the FY22 budget.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Brunner.
Yes.
Jingula.
Yes.
Bauer. Reynolds.
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
The next item is an action item to authorize the mayor to sign the pipeline crossing and encroachment agreement with United Pacific Railroad and to authorize expenditure up to $250,000 for Union Pacific Railroad approved inspection services, and this was approved, reviewed and approved by legal.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Brunner.
Yes.
Jingula.
Yes.
Bauer. Reynolds.
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
Item 6.6 is an action item, and it's to award the bid and authorize the mayor to sign the contract for the annual miscellaneous asphalt patch FY23 project with Hess Construction LLC for $275,000. This was approved in FY22 budget and reviewed and approved by legal.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Brunner.
Yes.
Jingula.
Yes.
Bauer. Reynolds.
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
Item 6.7 is an action item. This is to approve and authorize the mayor to sign the state and local agreement for 2nd Street South Safety Improvements Project. This is key number 23833, and authorize the city clerk to sign and certify the resolution for the approved SLA. This is approved in the FY22 budget.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Just thank you for the grant money, whoever went after that.
Yes.
Okay.
Roll call.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Brunner.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Bauer. Jingula.
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
Item 6.8 is an action item, and this is to authorize the mayor to sign the resolution increasing the parks and rec fees that include the recreation programs, parks, recreation center, and cemetery. And this is what we did at the last meeting, but the resolution had changes and was brought forward to this meeting.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Brunner.
Yes.
Jingula.
Yes.
Bauer. Reynolds.
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
That concludes our new business items, and we have concluded our public hearing, so we're going to move on to Section 8 of the agenda, which is unfinished business. 8.1 is an action item. This is the first reading of ordinance for the zoning map amendment from BC to IL and a potential development agreement at 0 East Chisholm Drive, and this is for Jeff Hatch, Hatch Design Architecture, representing Bryven, Idaho LLC, and it is requested to pass under suspension of rules.
An ordinance of the City of Nampa, Idaho to provide an IL light industrial zone designation for certain lands commonly known as 0 East Chisholm Drive, Nampa, Idaho, County Parcel R31187 00000, comprising approximately 12.97 acres, more or less, determining that said zoning is in the best interest of the citizens and consistent with the city's comprehensive plan, rezoning said property from BC Community Business to IL Light Industrial, providing for recordation, instructing the city engineer to designate said property as IL Light Industrial on the official zoning map and other area maps of the city, subject to the terms of that certain development agreement entered into between the applicant and the city of Napa, and directing the city engineer to alter the use in the area map accordingly, providing for an effective date, and repealing all ordinances, rules, and regulations and parts thereof in conflict herewith.
Make a motion to pass the ordinance as read under suspension of rules.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Brunner.
Yes.
Jingula.
Yes.
Bauer. Reynolds.
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
So item 8.2 is an action item, and this is the first reading of ordinance and approval of publication of ordinance summary for the zoning text amendment to change portions of the Nampa City Code. I am not going to read all of this because our clerk is going to read it all, and it's a little bit lengthy. So we will just be listening. Here we go, Shar, and it is requested to pass under suspension of rules.
Thank you. An ordinance of the City of Nampa, Idaho, amending Title 10 of the Nampa City Code, revising Chapter 1 definitions regarding animals, kennels, architecture and buildings, accessory structures, animal hospital, veterinary subdivision lots, yards, setbacks, frontage, revising height exceptions, yard requirements, lot splits, lighting, and permits. Revising Chapter 2 regarding neighborhood meetings and annexations. Revising Chapter 4 regarding berming. Revising Chapter 8 regarding height regulations and changing the building to structure, accessory structures, and footnotes. Revising Chapter 10 regarding description of purpose of districts, height regulations and detached accessory structures, changing building to structure, location of accessory structure, yards, setbacks, splits, access, and density. Revising Chapter 11 regarding structural height and accessory structure setback regulations, location of accessory structures, yard setbacks, splits, access, and density. Revising Chapter 12 regarding structural height and accessory structure setback regulations, location of accessory structures, yard setbacks, splits, access, and density. Revising Chapter 13 regarding height regulations, changing building to structure, location of accessory structures, yard setbacks, splits, access, and density. Revising Chapter 14 regarding height regulations, changing building to structure, location of accessory structures, yards, setbacks, and outside uses. Revising Chapter 15 regarding location of the property line and future known right-of-way. Revising Chapter 16 regarding height regulation, changing building to structure and setbacks. Revising Chapter 18, description and purpose, property coverage and setbacks, site improvements, site screening, parking, parking lot, landscaping, design review, signage, and property landscaping. Revising Chapter 19 regarding setbacks, site screening, parking, parking lot landscaping, signage, design review, and property landscaping. Revising Chapter 20 regarding setbacks, site screening, parking, parking lot landscaping, signage, design review, and property landscaping. Revising Chapter 21 regarding size of animals. Revising Chapter 22 regarding RV parking, graphics, and bicycle parking. Revising Chapter 24 regarding variances, primary or accessory structure, rebuild letter. Revising Chapter 25 regarding revocation. Revising Chapter 26 regarding purpose and planned unit developments. Revising Chapter 27 regarding subdivisions, landscape plans, townhouses, landscape buffer areas, financial security and guarantee. Revising Chapter 30 regarding subdivision ordinance and impact area. Rescinding Chapter 3 in its entirety and replacing it with a new Chapter 3 regarding establishment of districts and revisions of nonconforming uses, schedule of districts, and land use controls in district maps, lot splits, changes in boundaries, uncertainty of district boundaries, zoning of annexed areas and nonconforming uses. Providing for severability, providing a savings clause, allowing for a summary of this ordinance to be published, providing for an effective date, and repealing all ordinances, rules, and regulations and parts thereof in conflict herewith.
Mayor Kling, I'll make a motion to pass the ordinance as read with the approval of publication for the zoning text amendment under suspension of rules.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Yes.
Your mic.
Is there any effect with
Your mic.
Oh, thank you, Shar.
I read through this. I had a question about the bees. Like, are bees getting more restricted with this than what they are, or is it?
Think so.
Christy, thank you for coming forward.
Restrictive. They are actually just kind of being clarified as far as where they can be allowed, because it has been, as you probably know, we're losing our bee population. So we're actually allowing them in more areas.
Okay, makes me happy.
Okay.
Good question. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Brunner,
Yes.
Chinkula,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Bauer,
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
All in favor, motion carries.
So we are done with the regular portion of our agenda. I would stand for a motion to adjourn into executive session pursuant to Idaho Code 74206-1F. This is to communicate with legal counsel for the public agency to discuss the legal ramifications of and legal options for pending litigation or controversies not yet to be litigated.
So moved.
Second. Roll call.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Brunner,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Bauer, Chinkula.
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
All in